Feng Shui 2 does not simulate reality. Just like the action movies it emulates, it bends reality nearly to the breaking point in pursuit of pyrotechnic, implausible fun. You get to play characters that are based on popular action movie archetypes, and plots unfold with action movie pacing and structure. The setting matches up action movie genres usually kept separate, while also blenderizing the Hong Kong and Hollywood traditions. In keeping with that slam-bang style, it skips the extended character generation you may be familiar with from other games, instead presenting you with 36 ready-to-play archetypes. Just choose a character archetype to play, then modify it with story elements. Your character may not know anything about the Feng Shui 2 setting when the first session starts. In order to find out how much your character knows, consult briefly with your GM before you start playing. She's able to tell you how much of the background your character is aware of. If you know more than your character does, you're expected to play your character without using that information. For example, if you're playing a modern-day hitman, you know lots about being in a gang, but nothing about Shui warriors, or the Netherworld, or cyborgs from the future, etc. If your modern-day hitman's response to a problem is, "Let's look for an entrance to the Netherworld," your GM can suggest that you let another hero established as knowing more about the Netherworld make that suggestion. Your GM starts each session with an idea of the plot line she wants to follow, but in the end, you are all creating a story together. Actions taken by your character and those of your fellow players bring surprises for everyone. They might hew closely to what the GM imagined would happen when she made her preparations for the setting, or suddenly curve to pit you against entirely unexpected foes in unanticipated locations. Feng Shui 2 keeps the rules simple, particularly when defining the opponents you fight, making it no big deal for the GM to react to your choices with departure from her plans. The only limit to the fun you have is your own collective imagination. In your heads, you have an unlimited special effects budget. If you blow up half of Hong Kong in a story you make up together, you don't have to pick up the insurance tab or pay the technicians to work overtime. Everyone is responsible for adding elements to the story. If your character wants to do something in water, you don't have to wait for the GM to say there is a river. You can declare there is water and where it is, etc., and as long as the other players and GM buy into what you're selling, it's there. If you are outdoors but want a chandelier to be on the map, sell it well enough and it's there. Especially if you want something there so that you can do something cool, you won't have to work too hard to sell it. Regarding checks, when you want to do something, first the players and GM will determine if this is something that should just happen or if there is any opposition, or if there's a possibility of failure that is important enough to make a check for it. For example, you would not make a check to put on a pair of sunglasses unless something bizarre is going on that would call for one. Breaking through the skylight to superhero land on the top floor is cool and should just happen with no check needed. When you do need to make checks, the GM would advise of the number you need to meet or beat and you would make the check. You would roll your positive and negative dice and calculate your swerve. Decide whether or not you want to spend a fortune point to roll a non-exploding fortune dice and add that number to your swerve. Add your swerve to the appropriate action value to determine your outcome. If you just meet the result, give a blasé description of doing what you set out to do. If you beat the needed result, talk up that description a bit. If you beat the result by 4 or more, ask the GM to allow you to have done an additional non-combat action as well. If you beat the result by a lot, describe the cinematic special effects of reality-bending magic that occurred when you did this.
Stop this conversation. We got no relation.